So I just want to go over 3 really simple tools today and just see where you guys are at with your posters, okay? Because we want to wrap those up on Wednesday, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The recording thing is figured out. I think most of the stuff is figured out now for us. So questions?
Yes, I have. When I do the spray or brush tool, so
Symbol or what?
some of the brush tool or spray stuff goes out the artboard, right?
It's just too big then.
Yeah. So when it goes out, so how do I cut off? Last time I saw you told us about clipping mask.
Yeah.
So I was trying to do that, but there are a lot of different brushes and spray work. So it's not clipping mask my frame. I saw your work is outside and then you do clipping mask so it disappear.
You're okay. With the clipping mask thing, the only thing I can think of, let me share my screen, is, now I don't have my Cintiq hooked up this time because I'm doing vector, so I don't think it really matters. I don't really need the Cintiq for that. Okay, so let's just say, I'm assuming you're talking about symbols.
Mm-hmm.
And I should be able to create whatever shape I want.
I mean out of the artboard, this white board.
If it's out of the artboard, all that
Yeah.
is that it's too big.
Oh, okay. So it's okay if we PDF it, it will be okay.
See?
Yeah.
So I can size that, and I can also come in here with this tool, with our symbols tool. If I hit this right here, it'll open up. And all these, you know, if I want to shrink them down in a certain area or gather them or any of that kind of stuff, sizer. That makes them bigger if I hold Option, makes them smaller. Okay? And then when you export this, you want to go File, Export, Export As, and whatever format you're in, hit Use Artboards, and it'll clip it right to that little, whatever your artboard size is.
Okay.
Okay?
Oh, okay.
So let's go. I want to go over these real quick. Just some really simple, put notes on my phone, hang on. Everybody's doing okay other than that?
Yep. And my file is very heavy because I am using a lot of brushes and spray tool. So
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
very heavy.
that's just gonna happen.
Oh, okay.
It just depends on your, that's why I always say do the textural stuff, all that stuff at the end. There we go. Okay, there's a couple things here. I'm going to give this, I'm going to screenshot the group that's here in a few minutes. But so we had, this is just a really simple thing. I'll start with this. And then I want to look at where you guys are at with your posters and stuff. Look at that. Okay, so like on this one, when we colored this before, what all this tool is basically another way of sort of doing that. So I'm going to go here to my blob brush tool. I'm going to go underneath my, let me get organized here. Underneath this thing. And before we sort of took a pen tool and we went around this perimeter, if you remember, and that's how we did the initial fill, okay? Now I'm doing this with a mouse, so it's gonna be a little sloppy, but it's a real simple tool, so you'll get the point. So I've got this blob tool, and what this does is, you can see it now. So it acts like if I want to go bigger or smaller with it, I can just do the left-right brackets like a brush, okay, or a line tool. But what the difference is with this tool is that if I go in and I start painting, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to do this really sloppy, but let's change the color of that. Oops. Let's just change the whole color of the whole thing. Okay, so it looks at it sort of like a line tool, except that it, when you get done putting this in, it's actually it's a shape. So if I look at it, and it keeps filling it in, so you could sort of paint it. You can see I'm very sloppy because I'm using a mouse. But then I could come in with the eraser tool, and I could erase that out, get a little painted over edges, or in here, or I could probably take a really what do you call it, textural brush and come through here and scrape through this paint if I want to do that and get another texture idea. Okay, does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It treats it like a line, but if I go around like that and then I come in here, I can just keep filling like a paintbrush, because normally if I use a paintbrush in Illustrator, it's usually going to make it a see, I made it a line, so we can come in here and we can adjust it, and that's great for a line. This is more of a fill tool. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just another way of working. Okay, so now there's another thing in here I want to go over, which is kind of interesting. I'm going to grab this bad M that I made. And let's go. Actually, I want to flip this. Hang on. Okay, so there's another blend tool in here that's kind of interesting. So I'm going to make some lines. I'm going to repeat them. I'm going to make these. I don't need any fill in any of these. Now I'm just going to fill different colors here. And it's kind of weird because you can use this two different ways. So I could come in here, and it's right here. You can see it right there. I can come in here and select these, and it will start to blend them together. You can see how it's starting to blend there, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of, after we're done here, I want you guys to play around this tool a little bit, but I can also go, because the commands for it are right here, blend right there. And here's my blend option, so I could change these, but, or instead of grabbing each one of them and connecting them, I can go blend, make, and it just blends them together. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's take this now. Let's take a shape. And I can do the same thing with this shape. Or any shape, basically. And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to repeat this. And then I'm going to change the colors.
What button did you press to make the option repeat?
Oh, you go, so we go option drag, right? So if I want to make it, if I want to repeat it, I go option drag, and then I don't deselect it, and then I just go command D.
Okay.
Which is duplicate, which is up here in your file, but the hotkey is just D, command D. It's easy to remember because it's duplicate. Now again, I can come in here with this, and I could go, I can start connecting these things that way, okay? Then I'm going to go here. I'm going to go Object, Blend, Make. We've got a blend. It's popping right here, but I'm going to see if that, hopefully that will make a difference. Now, I have to make a copy. Actually, I want to make these a little closer together. Because it's probably how many steps I have on there. Let's try that. Okay, Object, Blend, Make. That's a little better, I guess. Okay, so then I'm going to drop in this line, okay? Now, I have to make a copy of this because it's going to use it. If that makes any sense. And I'm going to select both of these. I'm going to go Blend, Blend. And now if you notice, it gives me these options down here. And we're going to go Replace Spine. And it applies it onto that letter. Does that make sense?
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
What's
It
that?
said replace spine.
Yeah, don't worry, this video will be up today. Okay, so you don't have to take notes or anything. But you can see that's a pretty useful tool. Correct?
Yeah.
Interesting,
So
very interesting, yeah.
Yeah, so what you're doing here, let me switch. What you're doing here is, the reason it says replace spine is now you've created that line, which is the spine. You grab both of those things, right?
Yeah.
And then you're applying that onto that line, okay? But what you got to remember is you make a copy of the one you're applying to it, because it's kind of weird. It uses it up. So when you apply it to that spine, it disappears because it applied it to that thing. So you got to always keep a copy of it if you want to do more.
We can apply this color on any shape or only on lines?
Well, you can do it with shape in the way I said it in the beginning. You can connect shapes with the blend tool. Okay. So when you go in there and play with that blend tool, I want you to go in and play with like the steps and the smooth blending as opposed to step blending and specified blending. It's all in that little, when you pull up that little window. The reason I'm not going through all those is you just got to go in and kind of play with them. It's pretty straightforward. The little apply spine thing is just kind of an interesting thing if you want to get that kind of a look. There's just a lot of things, you know. And that's a really bad M, which is weird because it actually applied it pretty good because I just, you know, kind of freehanded that thing. And then things like that blob tool and stuff, it's going to work better with you know, if you have a tablet on your desk, right? That kind of tool can work better with that if you're painting. But this one, not so much, okay? Does all that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, and then here's the other one I wanted to go over. Hang on, let me pull this up. Let me minimize my window. Okay, so there's what that looks like, okay? Now, sometimes you're going to have to maybe do this part in 2 parts or things like that if you want to do lettering or anything like that. Let's get rid of that. And then let's go. I don't need this. And I am going to open this one. Let me split my screen. Hang on, I'm going to take a screen grab real quick. Okay. All right, so what this tool does, I haven't used it that much, so hopefully I'll get through this okay. I've got this locked off. I'm going to go above it, lock that off. I'm going to go here. This is the curvature tool, okay? So I'm going to go, actually I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to go to my pen tool. This is how I did it yesterday. It worked pretty good. I'm going to go here. I don't want to fill. I want to be able to see it, so I'm going to change it to like a different color. And then I'm going to go here, here. Somebody's typing. Can you mute your window? Or mute your whatever it is? Okay, you see that, you guys? Yes?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do now is grab this curvature tool. Oops. And now I can, and I might have to add a point to this one. I will have to add a point to it. I'm going to do this a little sloppy, but. So it just allows me to go in after the fact on something like this. It's pretty uniform. And readjust all my curves, okay?
That's called the curvature.
Yeah, it's right here. It looks like your pen tool, except it has the little curve line on it. It's right next to your pen tool. You see it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So then I'm going to take this, and this is probably going to be a little sloppy, but that's okay. Actually, it's not too bad. And I fill it, and there it is. Okay? Now, this is a tool that I used to think was completely lame because I hadn't explored it, okay? Which is why I like teaching, because it forces me to do that. And now I see the value of it. It's a really valuable tool, okay? And I could go, I'm going to do the curves on one side, you know, just put a guideline right down the center and do the curves on one side and just mirror it over. That way I know it's perfectly symmetrical. But you can see it came out pretty clean, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And man, that's a lot easier actually than trying to get all your line work to sort of line up exactly right and stuff like that. It's another tool that I wish I would have used more when I was working, but oh well. That makes sense, correct?
Correct.
And if you want to try that little thing, just go find that bat symbol. If somebody else I saw was doing that, I go, oh, that's a cool idea. So I just stole the idea. But you obviously can find that bat symbol anywhere. And it's just a nice little thing. Use your regular pen, go and make your big shape, and then go and hit it with your curvature tool, okay? Because I was using it before where I thought you had to do it, the original lines with the curve tool, and then sometimes it'll start to curve on you. And you don't have to do it that way. You can just do it with your pen tool. Make sense?
Yes.
Yep.
Do I have anybody to look at on posters?
Mine's in there.
Which folder?
Should have my name on it, Michael Brad.
But is it in the Google folder? Yeah, right?
Yeah, mine is too.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to go pull them up. Because, okay. Google folder. Okay. Okay. I'm going to download all the ones that are in here. Anybody who's not in here, I'm going to assume that you're doing okay and you're on track for Wednesday. Okay.
Where do I go to put my project in the Google Drive?
It's under announcements. I put it up about 40 minutes before class today. Usually I'll do it the day before, but I totally spaced it. And these are almost downloaded. Okay, hang on. And it's still downloading. Okay. And then Wednesday, I'm going to start going over some little more complicated stuff, okay? Okay, hang on.
I put my project in the folder on Canvas, so it
Put
should.
it on the one in the Google Drive.
Where do I go to put it there? Like,
It's under announcements. There's a link.
oh, right. No.
And then you just drag it in there. You just got to be signed into Google. And let me switch my screen again. is. Okay. Okay, so Jet, where are you at?
Right here.
Okay, so like that foreground, this part right here,
Mm-hmm.
what does that represent? Is that like walls?
Those are walls. Yeah, I haven't added the texture to it yet.
Oh, okay, because that's what I was going to
Yeah.
comment on. I like this. I like all the stuff back here. And this is like a tree here.
Yeah, but that's still not finished.
Well, I think
Actually,
one thing, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
One thing would be cool here, which you're probably already going to do, is I might just take like one of those gouache brushes and like knock all that texture down here, a darker value texture, and just clipping mask it in there.
I was actually going to ask about that. Yeah.
And I also might do this. Actually, here's what I would do. I would do one shape here. Let's see if I can do this real quick. Hopefully I have my gouache brushes here. I don't know if I do it. I'm just going to make a crappy tree shape, so forgive me for that. I'm going to go to my smooth tool. Let's give this a green fill. And this all depends if I have my gouache brushes in here. Oops. Now, let's see if I can load them. Okay, so there it is, hopefully. Okay, there's my gouache faders. So I might go a couple of things. I might, to break up this edge, I might change this line, the outer line, to a brush. That's too dispersed. Let's try this one. Yeah, like something like that, okay?
Okay.
Now that's up to you how you want to handle it. I don't want these to be different colors. I want them to be the same color. So let's go here and go, that's my line. And that's also going to be my fill. Okay, so then I could take this original shape. I'm going to get rid of the brushy edge. Now you'd have to adjust that. And I might come in here also and make like another shape, you know, all sort of in the same color, you know, to make it less symmetrical. And then just select this. And for some reason it doesn't recognize that, so I have to do that. Okay. And then I can come in here and I can just, now maybe this is a little bigger, I don't know. Okay. Maybe it comes out like that, because I don't want it to be too symmetrical.
Okay.
You know, start to get a little more of a tree idea, okay? And then
are you applying the brush to the edge?
if you look here, watch. I've applied a gouache brush to this line. Does that make sense?
You just click on the stroke box and then click on the brush?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you got to load the, you know, and they also have organic brushes in here that might work also, okay? And then I would probably take this, and I'm not going to redo my shape here. Or maybe I will. Let's see if I can just redo this shape. I'm going to go. Combine these. And then maybe, again, I'll get rid of this. And now I'm going to go, let's take this. Let's see if I can just do it with a brush maybe. Okay, so now I'm going to go to a darker value here on the underneath the canopy. Hang on, it's not changing my line. Hang on. Let's just see if I can do it here. There we go. Might be a little dark, but that's okay for this. Okay. And now I can either start to shade under here, or I can take this and go, okay, I need to contain it a little bit. Make sure this line is on top. and clipping mask it and start and do a better job than I'm doing. And you can
okay.
start to get a little bit of a tree shape, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Very simple, right?
Yeah.
So, and then I might do, going up into that tree, I might do some of those cool, you know, a few branches going up,
Mhm.
you know, like snaking up into the tree and then sort of disappearing. Don't overdo that because it can get, you want the leaves to cover up some of the branches. You got to get a nice, you know, Swiss Family Robinson kind of vibe thing going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at, so that'll help that. I think these are fine. I mean, you know, it's nice to have like hard edges against soft edges. So maybe this is going to be your big soft edge idea up here. Then this, I might put a few indications, and that curvature tool might be good here. You could put a straight line and then just curve it up to fit this line.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
I just do a couple to indicate like stone or brick or something. Don't overdo that. I mean, just here and there. And then when you put your texture over or under that, it's going to look pretty good. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Let's look at Michael's. Okay, what's this for? Craft World. Okay, what is Craft World?
It's like an alien homeworld kind of a thing.
Okay, I would probably, like you've got, okay, so if you look at this, do you see that it's all fairly light values?
Yeah.
Okay, like this foreground element could probably get much darker. And it's,
Yeah, I was waiting to do shading and lighting stuff until I did to do it with the texture.
Okay. Well, you're going to want to do both, right?
Okay.
And make sure that these guys right here are either darker than the foreground or the foreground's a little darker and really silhouettes them because they're a light value, right?
Right, yeah.
And right now you've got them sort of on a light value. So just make sure which either way you want to go. I'd probably make these guys a little darker and pop, you know, because things tend to get a little lighter in value as they go back. Not that that's always true, but you know, just play with it. Okay.
Right.
Down here on the bottom, that's just what going to be like a ground texture.
Wasn't sure about that. It's kind of like things are way tall, so this is looking at everything kind of up in the sky kind of a thing. So it's like fading into the atmosphere.
I see that. Okay, make sure that you really push that, okay?
How would I do that?
Make me know that this is up high, which you're starting to do the way it fades out down at the bottom. I get it. You guys can see my screen right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What else? Maybe way down there I see, I don't know, some indication of landscape, like just an indication of some trees or something like that.
Okay.
So I know that I'm way up here and that's a big bunch of objects down there, which are trees, and, you know, just really subtle. I mean, you can fade them way down and sort of give them that misty sort of look. Okay?
Okay.
Does that make sense? Hang
Yeah.
on. I got to write something down to myself. I write notes in these classes all the time so I remember. I'll show you a little trick on Wednesday on that. Okay. All right. That all makes sense?
Yeah.
Now this one, oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, I see. You got a ton of symbol stuff. You're going like super, yeah, you're going super painterly. That's why it's getting crazy on you, but that's fine.
Wow.
The only thing, go ahead. I like this. I like all this painterly stuff here in the foreground.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably organize it a little more, like knock this down a little bit. It's getting a little crazy, the highlights. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then like where there's a shore edge, like here, I might put like a little darker value to really indicate that that's going into the, you know, that that's where it stops. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And then the other thing is like this tree's getting very round and this tree's getting very round. You know, spray some of these out here so it starts to get a little more asymmetrical.
Okay.
And then back here, I might put it like, it looks like you did way back here, these blue trees. I might add a few of those back there, that mass of blue back there. It's kind of nice.
Oh, okay.
And it'll frame out these other things like it is right here. And then you're going to put texture on these trees.
Yeah,
right?
it's still on. Yeah.
There's one brush in there. It's the charcoal brush. It's under artistic. I think it's a charcoal brush. That works really nice for bark.
Oh, okay. All right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I like that you're like here, all this painterly stuff. It's starting to feel like gouache or acrylic
Yes.
or something. It is.
Yeah, I use gouache brush.
Wow, it actually does look like gouache. Like right here, it feels like gouache. That's cool. Questions?
No.
Okay, good.
But the file is heavy. That's all I want to say. It's very
Yeah,
heavy.
that's just depends on your computer, but it's like you got to remember everything you make in Illustrator. It's a little different than Photoshop. Everything you make is like literally an object, so it's keeping track of all these points and objects and all this kind of stuff. So I really think about that when I build my files, and you can't really do that, what I just said, because you're doing it painterly right from the beginning, right? So that's a little different. It's going to get a little heavier. Now, there's ways that you could change that. You could make a copy of the whole file. If I was working on this for a job, I might make a copy of the whole file and then take a lot of the line work and just do outline stroke, and it'll stop being a stroke and it'll just be an object, and that would actually lessen how much memory it's using. Okay. But make sure you always keep the active one that you're working on, right? Because if you decide like, oh crap, I want to go back and change that, it's not going to be changeable in the same way because it's an object now. Okay.
I see. Okay.
Where's Jane? Who's this? Who's this?
That one's mine.
Who is it? Who am I talking to?
Jessica.
Oh, okay. Here, let me open my window.
Hey, Legend of Zelda.
Is that what it's from?
Yeah.
Yep. I think this, oh, I like that. Like this little texture stuff you're doing on here. I might vary these a little more. Like, let's open this real quick. Oops. Hang on. Let's go. Okay, so let's go. Like here, I might throw in another, taller tree. Maybe following that. I'm just making it really simple, but basically following your same kind of look.
Yeah.
That way I can, and these will be behind yours, maybe here, maybe one's a little skinnier. Vary the colors a little bit. I might mass a few of them together into the background. You can follow your same, whatever you call that, your same styling, okay?
Okay.
I'm just doing it quick. And just break that up a little bit. I might throw a few back here, way back here. And obviously it would go behind things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now be careful when you make this kind of path, because you can really take advantage of, see now I do need a nice and cute, but I won't. If I have a hill, let's just do that. Hang on. I'm going to move this. If I have a hill, let's give it your green. And let me do another one like that. I can take advantage of that, and I can go, here's another hill. Maybe, I don't know, here, oops. Maybe here. I'm going to do this real quick. Let's make this one a little darker. And then maybe this foreground becomes a little darker still. But what I can do here is I could take this, if my castle's right here, I could take this road and have it curve out like that. And that's a sloppy one, but it's okay. And then this would go behind me. Somebody's got to mute their microphone, it's loud. And then it's going to come back up around this other side, and maybe it continues here. It starts coming into my foreground like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it'll feel, you know, you can really get that sense of distance by going and it's rolling over. Okay? And think about the perspective of it, because right here it's sort of going wonky all right here. We want to make that statement that that is coming from back here and curving out sort of in perspective. You don't have to know perspective for this, just like that. That's a little better. That makes sense?
Yep.
Here on this pond thing right here, might get it a little more of something. Maybe I put a swan in there so I could reflect them down into it or something like that. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
Might vary these a little bit. Maybe get a little more color in them, maybe. But definitely right here, back here, get a little more forest back there, and maybe some in the foreground too. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe there's a couple of rocks here on the that go, you know, on the edge of this little pond. Like I said, maybe there's a swan or something in it. Because whenever I do a water like that, I want to reflect something into it because it's cool to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. James,
Yes.
what's going on here?
These are my concepts. They're still, I'm still making them in like Sketchbook Pro. I haven't moved to Illustrator yet.
You know that we're due on Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I like them. I love the idea of being that organic. Obviously, I like this one. It's just more coherent as a design. I like probably this lighting back here a little bit better. But this, you know, one thing would be cool here is if, what is this? Like, it's like a castle. It's got kind of a skull imagery in it.
Yeah, like an island, like maybe kind of like Kong Island, like Isle of the Dead type thing.
Okay, one thing you might do is like find a clever way to like, if this is like a, whatever it is, castle or whatever it is, you know, that it looks sort of like what it is, but then when you see the reflection, then it becomes like this menacing thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's nice when you kind of, and then the one that, let's see if I can find this real quick. I hate that this thing doesn't go to my, it doesn't, you know. Like this one. See all this nice, like these little ripples coming out around things?
Yeah.
And then look here, like these are just literally just little brush strokes. This one looks like he just made a little graphic, you know, made one leaf, flipped it, and then just repeated it. But it's overall the texture. This is really nice. This is just like the brushes I gave you. And then this reflection, right? Yeah?
Yes.
One of the things you want to do with this is like create the reflection. I want to talk about something on Tuesday related to that. So if you don't, you know, however you do it, that's fine, but I'll show you a different way to do it probably. With reflections, you want to get the big reflection, you know, fade it, and then you just basically put a couple of water ripples over it, and then that's it, okay?
Okay.
If you look at this, what's partly making this work is that this is blurred out a little bit. These things are all reinforcing the idea of reflecting into the water, but what really sells it are these little white ripples over the reflection. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's the trick right there. Reflection highlights over that reflection. The reflection sits back and feels like it's reflecting. Okay? Yeah?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Let's go to... Luke, this file is gigantic. It's 106 megs. Did you give me a, don't give me the AI, give me a JPEG.
Oh. So I,
That's all right.
let me try something else here.
And then who's this?
Maybe.
Oh, that was mine. Is just earlier variations. Maybe there's something that could be pulled out from one.
Like you're starting, you kind of playing with that idea right here a little bit, right?
Yeah.
A little bit here. I think it has to be like not screaming at you. It has to be like that thing's reflecting down the water. Because now you got a chance to sort of change, like you got a window to make it a little blobbier and start to get that indication of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's almost got to be an aha read where you kind of go, oh, there's a skull right there. I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get it done, right?
Well, yes.
Okay, I'm waiting for Luke's. Questions?
Nope.
Good. So what I'm going to do on Wednesday is I'm going to start going over some things a little more complicated. They're really not complicated, but just a little more. I'm going to talk about what I just talked about. And I'll go through a couple of different tool sets probably because we'll be finishing this up. So I can just go through a couple of different tool sets. Then we'll start talking about what we're going to do next, okay?
Okay.
I
So
turned in my cityscape, but I turned it in late.
Look, the first, we're really just getting rolling on this. I would say last week was the first week we were really rolling. Being a little bit, I feel like we have to get transitional. After this week, you know, if it's late, I'm going to mark it late like any other time. But, you know, we've been kind of getting this all together. So I'm a little bit less inclined to, you know, it's got to be a little bit of transition here, okay? So I get that. And everybody, I mean, I've been shocked at how well everybody's done that. Everybody, because I thought this was going to be a giant mess, just trying to get everybody up on like Zoom and start to talk this way and everything. And then, you know, and like I said, it's really helped me just get a different perspective on everything, which I think is really interesting. And it's changed my thinking. And all this stuff now will be incorporated in any class I do in class anyway, because I like this format. Yesterday I had somebody at like, I don't know, probably 6 o'clock last night or something. Somebody goes, I'm having trouble with my character design in my digital drawing class. And she sent them to me and I just did a quick little 10-minute comments, overlay and everything and just popped them right back to her. She sent me 2 hours later, really improved drawings, you know what I mean? And I love that, you know, she just hit me on Sunday night. It's like, yeah, cool, we did a little video, you know? And it's the same thing with you guys, you know, if you have a question and it's just like, yeah, I'm having a little bit of trouble with this, you know, hit me. And as long as I'm in the position of, you know, being near my computer or whatever, I'll probably just knock something out real quick to help you, you know, get around it, okay? The only thing is that I'm trying to stay, I don't know the word, I'm just trying to stay up on all the stuff I have to do because doing this online just creates, well, basically I'm constantly making things for class all the time, which is fine. But like today or tomorrow, I need to go out and film something outside, and that takes a lot more stuff to sort of film things on location, drawing on paper or whatever, okay? And then I have to edit all that together and all that stuff. Does that all make sense?
Yep.
Braden.
I've already.
Okay, I'll check in a sec. Braden, I mean, I want you to start working on some personal projects. So I want you to get back to me on what you want to do.
Okay.
Okay? Because, I mean, you're going to Art Center, man. You know? Which is a big deal. Okay, so just get back to me and tell me kind of what you want to do.
All right, I'll think about that.
Okay, great. I put up the discussion folder around projects. Some people have been putting them in there. I think Connor's been putting some ideas in there. I'll look at those and I'll see if I find one that that makes sense. One of the suggestions, from, I think it was from Connor, was package design. I love doing package design in this class. The only reason I'm not doing it right now is because I like to have us all sort of mock up the things in class and stuff like that. And it's kind of hard to do that online. That's more of a tactile thing.
Really?
Yeah, because I usually do it on a die line and all that kind of stuff. Or, you know, theoretically, if we were still on campus, we could take our die lines, go over to Ben and have Ben print them out and score them, and they just look like finished product, you know. but I can't do that right now. Okay, but I just want to keep. I mean, there's no ideas that are bad ideas right now. Just keep throwing them out there. Okay, let's see if I can get Luke here. There it is. Oh, cool.
Yeah, I kind of had a little trouble with the masking.
Okay, all you have to remember with the mask, are you talking about here where it's spraying out?
Yeah.
Okay, all you got to remember with the masking, let's do this. Is that whatever shape you want to use for that. So let's just do a shape right over the whole thing. Let's, yeah. Let's see if I can remember if I'm doing it this way or the other way, but we'll check. That this mask, whatever the shape is, it has to be on top of whatever it is you want to mask off. Then you have to select both of them and then go to your object, clipping, mask, make. See that?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I understand now.
Okay, it's looking pretty good. Like get some nice texture on these rocks here, and make sure that that texture is different than this texture because this feels organic, which is great. It feels like, you know, indication of trees and stuff. And then maybe this gets a little more warmth. The fronts of these, like it's really nice when you can make this part a little bit cooler, and then this part gets a little warmer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was thinking about doing that one, applying the texture.
Look at this guy. I know I always go back to these guys, but he's a good example. He does a lot of that sort of thing. Like here, he's getting this warmth on here, cools off back here. Same thing here, warm. He's got warm here. And by the way, somebody was doing the Star Wars one. Who is that?
That was me.
Okay, make sure, because I was looking at that. Okay, so what you got to understand, and we talked about this a little bit, when you start popping shapes in there, just a little more shape, is that environment, like if you're in a desert environment, that environment reacts differently than a normal environment, meaning that there's sun, it's bouncing down, it's hitting the ground, and it's bouncing warm light up into under overhanging shapes and things like that, which is kind of the opposite how it works in the, normally you'll go, oh, that shape's going to go into shadow and it's going to get cooled off. Well, not so much in the desert because it's bouncing all this warm light all over the place. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's what's going to give you just some indication, and I think it's all about indication because you do want them to be in silhouette. Some indication of the, the mechanics or the shapes, or what you want to call it. That's what's going to give you that, where it's bottom a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I really like this too, by the way, these really simplified rocks right here. Look at this foreground stuff. It's really nice, okay? Well, the reason I like his stuff is it looks so organic, but it's actually pretty geometric and it's very well designed. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Questions?
Nope.
Everybody's okay?
Yep.
That's good.
Oh,
So I'm going to see like the greatest things I've ever seen in my life on Wednesday.
Oh, sure.
Okay, good. I told you I want that Michael Edward Miller guy I just showed you. I want him to quit his job because yours are better than his. Okay, take all his work. Okay, Wednesday I'm going to go over Probably more tool sets on Wednesday, I'm guessing, because we're going to be, well, and we'll finish up this project, by the way. So I always give you, and I think I already listed this project for Wednesday, till 11:59 that night. Okay, so we still have a little bit of time. If you're, if you're going, I'm not sure how to finish this up or something like that, let's do that. And then I'll get through the tools that I want to get through. Does that make sense?
Yeah. One more question. Do we need to label it?
When you put the JPEG, and I'll put a folder up there for it. I might have.
No, I'm asking, we need to label, write something on it?
It needs to have a title. Yeah.
Title, okay.
Yeah, I want the type to be, remember, one quick thing I'll show you guys real quick. I don't know if we've talked about this. You probably have, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Now we know about this, correct? This type on a path. Yes?
Yeah.
Click that. Oops. Oh, yeah, there it is. And it's going to follow that path, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing, and we might have talked about this, is let's get a regular type tool.
If you're trying to show something, you're not sharing your screen.
Oh, sorry. I would think that. Okay, so we understand text on a path, correct?
Yeah.
So this one, and we might have also talked about this, but I'll talk about it anyway. So let's go here. I'm going to change it to Ed. Always does that. If we want to just do sort of simple effects here, we can go to Effect, Warp, and I'm just going to pick any, it doesn't matter. And I get this window, I have to go to Preview, and it'll do a lot of these kind of standard, right here I can adjust it. Right here I can adjust horizontal, vertical. Let's go back to, so I can go arc lower, arch upward, and then I can, adjust that, how much of that I want, okay, on all these. Now, that's a nice one right there, actually. Does that make sense? Okay, the other thing with that, again, like if at the end when you go, okay, I like that or whatever, then you got to go up here if you don't want, see how it's holding on to the original information? You go expand appearance, and now it just becomes shapes, okay? Does that make sense? The other thing is this tool will work on, I think, just about any shape. See how it'll work on just about any shape. Okay? So if you need that kind of uniform thing, it's a really handy tool. Okay? Shell upper, and it'll get it nice and symmetrical, however you want it. Make sense? That might help you with your type design, because I want you guys to think about how you're laying out your type and all that kind of stuff in it. It's important. Okay? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. No questions, right?
I have one more question, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Want me or him?
Whoever.
You can go first. You can go first.
Do we put our work in the progress folder if we're having trouble with it?
Yes, and then give me a little note that just tells me what the problem is.
All right.
Okay, and some of those things. And by the way, if you're having a little problem with this, just like I said, that student hit me last night. If you're having a little problem with this, they sent me the picture, and they sent me just like they sent, they attached it in an email. They said, hey, I'm having problems with this. Like if you're having a problem with some specific thing and you're stuck on something, send it to me. Like I said, I'm rolling this class out. Like our classes go a little shorter right now because we don't work in class the same way. We're working at home, but I want to be in that contact with you guys all the time. Okay.
So we can email you, right? Just in case.
Totally. Email me, whatever. Send me an image, and I'll get to it as quick as I can. Okay. And I might do a video, or I just might do comments. If I feel like it needs a video, I'll just do a quick little 5-10 minute video, and by the way, I'll WeTransfer that to you. I'm not going to put it up and link it. I'll just WeTransfer the file because it's probably going to be, I don't know, 100 megs, and you can just download it and then throw it away or whatever you want to do. Okay? Does that make sense? So I want that conversation because to me, that's the other extension of the classroom right now. Right now, we're talking about the problems like we would in class. We're talking about new tools like we would in class, but I'm not going to make you guys all sit here and work for another hour or whatever it is. It doesn't make sense to me. You can work and then get back to me, just like we do in class. Like, hey, I'm having problems with this, just like in class. That's how I want it to work. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody else have a question?
Yeah, so the one of the brush sets that you had that you used on the, I think it was like the tree on the Lake Arrowhead one, and also like on the hills, like the one that looked like a bunch of like stripes. Did you send that one to us as well?
That's the etcher brush.
Etcher brush. Okay.
Those ones that say grave etcher or something like that.
Okay.
That's those.
Okay, thank you.
And what I like about those is somebody was just using them in one of the ones I was looking at. Sometimes they give you like, if you get your head out of, oh, they're etching brushes or whatever, you go, these are just kind of cool abstract graphic interpretations of like bark or whatever, because I use them just kind of randomly here and there. And it's kind of cool, you know what I mean? Because it gives me like some sort of abstract ideas and design ideas as opposed to just trying to make everything look, you know, because we want to interpret this stuff. We don't want to just like, I mean, if I was going to go, if I want to make a perfect or a, you know, very realistic landscape, I'm going to do that in oil or in Photoshop or something. I'm going to paint it that way. This is more, I feel like this is more of a graphic interpretation of everything. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Which
One
is
more
really
question.
valuable for you guys, by the way, because it forces you to interpret your stuff into design ideas, which I think is hugely important, and no matter what medium you're using. Okay, what were you gonna say?
One question, that you send us a brush which we need to open in Illustrator and then save as PDF. So I don't find the other thing which you it's written that you have to click that.
Save it as a JPEG.
Save as JPEG. Oh, okay.
PDF. The only reason I don't do PDFs is because it's a little harder for me to work over them, like I just did with some of you guys' stuff. It's a little harder for me to do that. I have to, it just, you know, it's easier for me to deal with a JPEG. Okay.
The brush which you send and it said open the link in the Illustrator, then save as a JPEG.
No. When you're exporting your file, save it as a JPEG. You know how to import the brushes into Illustrator, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what are you, I'm not sure what you're asking me.
I download a link of your brush. It's saying that open is in as a Illustrator. There is a note on it. It's not showing me the brush image.
Now, when you preview it, you're not going to see anything.
Okay.
What it does is it drops a palette into Illustrator when you open it. Or when you drop it into Illustrator, it'll drop a little palette and it'll say grave etcher brushes, gouache shader brushes, whatever. And they each get their own palette.
Yeah.
Okay? Then I put those over in my palette, my toolbar over on the right, you know, and I can just pop them out. And they don't, I don't think they universally load into, like, if you open another file that they're already there, I don't think. So you usually have to load them. So I have a folder, and I have it in like 4 different places so I don't lose it. That's all my Illustrator brushes, all my fonts, all my Photoshop brushes, all my tools for all the different programs I use, okay? That way I just know they're always there, and they're called like fonts, brushes, and stock. And I just know if I go font, brush, and stock on my external hard drive or whatever, I will find all that stuff in there. So make sure you keep those things, because each one of those, I don't know what the etcher ones cost, probably $20. The other ones are probably $20. And I mean, they're all somewhere in there. You know, keep those. Those are really good tool sets. And whenever I get them, and the other thing is, because I do believe in people getting paid for their work. I don't like artists not getting paid for their work. And I know when I'm handing you guys a bunch of brushes, they're not getting paid for their work. But what I'm relying on is that when you guys, you know, get professional or whatever, that you will be buying things and all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not a big fan. Like, I don't mind paying for brushes. Somebody made that effort and made a great set or what. I have no problem paying for them. I think they're actually really reasonably priced. So, you know, but I also want you guys to try all these things. And you know, when people are students, they don't have a ton of money. I get it. Okay. Make sense?
Yep.
Yep.
How's everybody doing with the lockup?
It's pretty boring.
I never get bored, but what I don't like is that I'm being held hostage by some asshole president. That's the only thing that pisses me off. Like, I can live with like having to be home. I'm cool with that. I mean, I'm always busy, so I don't care. And then I'm lucky I live up in the mountains, so I can just go for a hike or something. But I just don't like that. Like, I go, everything pops into my head right now, and I go, oh, I should go get a Krispy Kreme. Oh, I can't get a Krispy Kreme. But I should go do, oh, I can't do that. I mean, I literally can't do anything. None of us can. And it's just weird. Okay. Feels like you're being, I don't know, it's just super weird. I'm like,
yeah, it's throwing off my routine.
Huh?
It's throwing off my routine.
Shit. Well, we don't have a routine.
Yeah. Well, I used to like get up and go get like a Starbucks and then go about my day, and it's like,
you know, it's weird you say that. Yeah. When I was thinking about yesterday, I go, man, when this thing's over, how much you're going to appreciate like those little everyday things.
yeah, for
You know
sure.
what I mean? That you did, you know, just that. Like, just I like to go and get breakfast and sit there and sketch for like a couple hours, and I can't even do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I just
Okay.
can't wait
Okay, you guys.
for
So
this thing to be
every
over.
go ahead.
I just can't wait for this whole thing to be over.
Yeah, man, you and me both. You and everybody.
Did you get
Yeah.
the Zoom thing figured out of longer than 40 minutes?
Yeah, that's all done. That's done. I figured out how to make it where I don't have to admit you guys. So, you know, like, because the problem there is that if I'm doing a demo or something, sometimes I don't know that you're waiting there. And I just, you know, and then which is really annoying. And then what I did was, anyway, I found the little thing, turned it off. So now you don't need me to let you into the meeting, which is much better. I've also got it set up now, which I think I already told you, where I'm just, every meeting's recorded. I will render this meeting right after this. I will throw it up online right after this. So we don't have to take notes or any of that kind of stuff.
Oh.
Anything that I reference in class, I try and, I do the post with the video, and then I try and do all the links. Yesterday I was talking about, or Saturday I was talking about certain artists, things like that. So I put the video in, links to the artists I was talking about, you know, just all that stuff we talked about in class. So I'll do the same thing in here. Try the curvature tool, you guys. Just play with those 3 tools that we just did, okay? And play around with that blend one in a weird way. Like, don't just necessarily do the lines like that, you know. Do them like that and see how it connects it, okay? And then you can start to play around with it a little bit and make some interesting shapes, okay?
Okay.
All right. And contact me if you're having problems, correct?
Okay.
And I think I got, wait, let me do one more screen cap. I'm on here. One more screen cap. Somebody's telling me that they're having, on my phone, somebody's telling me they're having trouble getting into this meeting, but I don't know why that would be. Okay, so let's go. Sarah Parks here, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
How you doing? You good?
Good. Yeah.
Okay, good. All this making sense?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, you guys, then I'll see you on Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah.